Hello, my beautiful darlings, and welcome to another SOULSPACE podcast. How are you all doing? I'm NICKYALAN. I'm an author, a channeler. Basically, I could go on with all of my titles, but if you like anything that's a bit freaky, a bit paranormal, a bit spooky, a bit angelic, then I'm your woman. So without further ado, let's get on with this next little session that I'm going to share with you. And this is about why spirits haunt places. This has always intrigued me. Why spirits hang around, what type of spirits they are, how and why do they appear, why are they connected to a certain bit of land, houses, people, blah, 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 blah. So do you know what? I thought I'd give you a few little stories of my experiences with hauntings, just to give you really a keeping it real view of what it's all about. Because the thing is, most people think as soon as they hear the word haunted, it's some miserable clanging chains ghost that's got the or is like stuck in the ether and is, you know, totally miserable wandering around the house. But that isn't the case. Every single one, just like every single soul on this earth plane, has a story. And it's up to mediums to find out what that story is. There is nothing that angers me more when I watch certain paranormal shows when straight away it's, do you want to hurt us? Do you want us to leave? And blah, 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 blah. They immediately think it's some negative, evil, you know, wrongdoing spirit that's haunting the place. They don't actually sit, connect with the person and work out what the problem is, why they're there, if they're in visitation or grounded, and how they can help them, you know. And some of them just do their thing and then leave. And that angers me so much because these souls need our help. Just like if you saw someone, you know, in a river that needed help, you throw a life ring or jump in. It's exactly the same thing. And I've learned over the years there are so many different reasons why certain souls will haunt a place or stay connected to a place. So I'm just going to give you a few stories. This could go to a part 2. It depends on how long I take, because I've been to a few, I'll tell you that. Because not only have I done years and years of paranormal investigations, I used to do house clearances as well. And I used to literally go around, and if there was any paranormal problem or phenomena, I would go and deal with it. And it was a wonderful, wonderful learning curve for each and every one, because of course they're all very, very different. A lot of these, it's a bit of a spoiler alert, are in my book, The Rise and Fall of Britain's Best Psychic Mediums. So be careful, because as soon as you start reading it, you go, oh, I know this one. But hey ho, you get a little teaser for the book and you get some wonderful stories of why people haunt places. So, you know, it's best to start with the scary side first, okay? Let's get the scary stuff out of the way, because they're very, very rare. I have to say, most probably about 85-90% of every single place I've ever been, the spirit people are friendly, or they are your family if it's a private home. They're your family just coming in to say hi. In fact, I would say family is pretty much 99% of every home paranormal phenomena. It is your family trying to bring your attention to them to let you know they're still there and they're still around you. It's fact. So, you know, this is a problem with media and all the scary horror films out there. As soon as you see something a bit weirdy, you immediately think, oh my God, I'm going to get sucked through the telly. And, you know, you're waiting for a little short woman to come in and tell you to go to the light. It really isn't that bad, trust me. As I say, I know it sounds really bad, but I sometimes think, oh my God, please let this be a goodie, just so I've got, you know, I can exercise a bit of me spiritual skills. But most of the time it's your nan or your mum popping in. But anyway, let's get to the scary stuff. One of the most scariest places, I've mostly mentioned this before, is Netley Abbey down in Southampton. My goodness, it's just one of those ones that if anybody ever said to me, have you connected with evil? I'd say 100% yes. It was incredible because it was my very first paranormal investigation. I'd just been retired from the police service, and I was asked by someone. I just started going to, like, spiritualist churches and started, dipping my toe in. And someone said, "Oh, would you like to come to a paranormal investigation?" I thought, "Oh, yeah, I would actually. I've known it all my life. I've been born into it through many generations of mediums before me. I've never actually gone and done one." So there I go, traipsing down to Southampton. Now, when I arrived at Netley Abbey, you'll see that most of it's in ruins. I do believe it's privately owned now, but I think it was part of a trust that allowed people to go in. It could have changed by now. I really don't know, because this was many, many moons ago. So it was a beautiful summer's day, and we could see a group of people like having a barbecue on the grounds as we entered. And as soon as I never, ever, ever will forget this image in my head, never. I walked in, and to my left there was a big doorway, a big old doorway that went into one of the ruins, one of the buildings. And I could see it was about 6'7", 6'8", this black-robed, really horrible person crossing his arms, staring at me. And he was solid form to begin with. And I was like, what the hell? And I thought someone was like dressing up. And then when I looked again, he started shimmering a bit. And then he kind of went into like a black shadow and then re-emerged again. And I thought, I'm seeing things. I kept blinking, and I was walking along looking at it. And it absolutely sent the fear of God into me. My spine felt heavy. I felt like my whole body was electrified as I walked past it, and it followed my gaze. So straight away, from my own intuition, my own family seed-rooted understanding of the paranormal, I knew that he was active. He was a spirit that was interactive and there. He wasn't residual energy, which I've described to you before in a podcast before. There's residual energy where, someone does something repeatedly and it creates like an indent in the atmosphere that psychics can pick up on, and you could possibly see the replay of it. But this one was totally live, totally intelligent, totally sentient, because he followed my gaze. And I was shitting myself, I'm not going to lie. So anyway, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to walk in there and be Miss Billy Big Bollocks. Do you know what I mean? And sort of say, "Oh, yes, I can see a spirit person there. Yeah, I can really feel it." So I didn't say anything. And then I looked away, looked back, and it had gone. And I thought, oh, my God, I'm just really scared already. I just wasn't prepared for anything like that. I was so young. And anyway, joined these barbecue people saying what they're picking up on. And I thought, why has nobody mentioned the big black mofo sitting in the bloody or standing in the doorway? I just thought, how has nobody picked up on him? I just couldn't believe it. So anyway, there was a nice barbecue, and then slowly the sun set, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. I really didn't want to do it, but I didn't want to look like I was, a scaredy cat. So the first place that we went into when it got dark was the Hunter's Lodge, it was called, the Hunting Lodge or something. And as I walked in, my third eye activated. And again, this is all new to me, remember? And I suddenly saw like a movie playing out of these monks on their knees praying and their heads being cut off. And I'm like, shut up. And then I see pregnant nuns screaming and there's blood everywhere. And I'm like, oh my, I can't do this. And so I came straight out. Nobody felt it. And they said, "Have you got anything?" I said, "Oh, it's just, I'm seeing this." And then I just come away from it. I didn't know what they said. I just had to get out. And I noticed that I was breathless. I had heart palpitations. I had a headache. I felt dizzy. I felt nauseous. And these are all signs that you're walking into a bad residual energy. So that thing wasn't there, the big black thing. But the residual energy of what took place in this room was barbaric, and it obviously sealed a huge imprint on the energy of that room. And I'd never seen or felt anything like it before in my life. If anything, I was quite a skeptical type person when it came to this sort of stuff. Oh, I can see this, I can feel that. And I thought, well, it can't be that clear. Oh my God, it's so clear. So that was my first kind of, obviously, I've been seeing spirits all my life, but it was all gentle and nice and family members and, predictions and dreams and prophecies, not walking in and seeing like monks' heads being cut off. It was just really horrific. And it's almost like I could smell the blood and death. It was, oh God, it was just awful. And I came out of there, and then where I'd seen, I did bottle out because I could hear crunching gravel, marching. I heard people marching on this gravel, and someone recorded it, replayed it back, and I said, I can hear gravel. And I said, do you mind pressing record? Because I felt a bit, like a newbie. I didn't want to tell people what to do. And he recorded it, and it came out on the recorder. And I thought, well, hello, I know what I'm talking about here. So I just wish I had all the old recordings. I just can't find them anywhere because I was going to add them onto this. And they said, we're going to go into the, whatever it was, I can't remember what building it was now. And that was where I'd seen him, and I didn't want to go in. So I just said, I just need to go to the loo. And they said, don't worry, just you have to make sure you go with someone else. So I went with someone else and then come back. And they said, come on, we'll go in now. And I just closed my eyes like a big wuss. Just so scared. I don't know why. It was because I was new to it and I didn't know what this thing was capable of because it followed my movements, and that really freaked me out. Didn't like it at all. So I closed my eyes and just didn't want to know. And as soon as I got out of there, oh my God, I was so relieved. It just felt claustrophobic and like someone was looking right in your face. It was just horrible, and I didn't want to interact. I didn't feel confident enough, and now I would obviously stand up and just have a right old bring it on session, but I was not ready for what was going on there. And we came out of there. Then later on, I can't remember. Oh yeah, I wanted to go to the Abbey because I'd seen a monk falling off of, or being pushed, I don't know, off of the main turret area or the main tower area of the Abbey ruins. And I wanted to go over there, and someone else said, I'll come with you. So, because you weren't allowed to go anywhere, it was just on your own, you had to go with someone else. We walked over to the Abbey ruin, and all I can say is as soon as we got into the Abbey, this black thing started coming towards me, and it was like black locusts coming towards me. I've never seen anything like it since. It was black cloud of buzzing blackness coming towards me, and it hit me like opening a freezer door. It was so cold, I cannot tell you. It froze me to the bone when it hit me, this black dense energy. And I felt my jaw tighten and my neck tense, and it felt like my spine was being dragged through the bottom of my back. It was horrific. And I could feel this sense of it wanting to pin me down to the floor. The person with me dropped like a sack of potatoes onto the floor. She just couldn't get up. And it was just around us, in us. It was just the most horrific thing ever. And I was absolutely petrified. I can't tell you. I was so scared. And then my dad's dad, Fred, who was the Gandalf of our family, he was the last seventh son, and he was a magical medium. He suddenly appeared in my mind and said, what are you doing? So I said, oh my God, please, Granddad, help me. And he said, you don't need any help because you're powerful. He said, tell him to F off. And so I said, oh yeah, that's really going to work. He goes, stand your ground. He said, never, ever fear the dead. Fear the living. And so he said, you stand up and you tell him to fuck off. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, go on, do it. And suddenly I just felt this big, strong energy of, whoa, hang on a minute. How dare this thing do what it's doing? And I literally, I had imprints in my palms where I gripped my fists so tightly. And I just went, how fucking dare you? Fuck off, like that. And I was so angry, and this power around me, I just imagined myself just like exploding in this as a big white star or something like that. And I just literally felt like I was bolting it out away from me with this strength and power, and also this aggressive, don't you dare come near me type energy. And it backed off. And it just whizzed off, and I knew it was the energy of that big black bloke I'd seen in the cloaks early. He wasn't black, he was white, but in black cloaks. And then I said, God, are you all right? And she goes, yeah. She goes, what the hell was that? And I said, I don't know. I got a feeling it was the big man that stood in the doorway. She goes, oh my God, did you see him? So I said, well, yeah. She goes, you know who that is, don't you? So I said, no. She goes, it's the abbot of Netley Abbey. Was he really tall and was he in black cloak? I went, yeah. I couldn't believe it. She went, oh yeah. She goes, why didn't you say anything earlier? I said, because I didn't want to come across as being cocky. So she went running back, goes, oh my God, she saw the abbot. She saw the abbot. They're going, did you see the abbot? When did you see him? I said, this afternoon. And they're like, what, at the barbecue? I said, yeah, when I arrived. And they're like, oh my God. So anyway, they then furnished me with the details. And they were really surprised that I managed to push him away and tell him to F off, because this black abbot, the abbot of Netley Abbey, was absolutely the worst monster ever. He committed atrocities. He impregnated nuns and then removed the baby. I'm not going to say how. As a sacrifice to Jesus and the Lord. He also slayed monks who he thought were sinful. It was just, he was an absolute nutbag. And they said, we've had stones thrown at us, we've been scratched, we've been thrown across, the abbey. He is grounded and nobody can send him up. So they said, we're surprised you managed to do that. And I said, don't ask me how. I said, my granddad helped me. I felt right while he's saying that. And it was a great learning curve, though, because my granddad, gave me the strength. I've got his old rosary beads that he kept as well. He always used to take to things like that. And so I always take those with me, grounding stones, and obviously my granddad. So I've never feared anything since, I've like, excuse me, how very dare you sort of attitude. So yeah, that was the abbot. And someone in a previous, if you look on my YouTube channel and look it up, someone actually caught him on camera, a previous paranormal group, which I actually use on the cover of it. And it's just incredible. They capture him with his black cloak and it's just a big black shadow standing in the doorway. So, the learning curve of that one was that it obviously is a grounded, nasty, evil thing that is most probably too fearful to go up, or loves the fact that he still has power down here. And as I say, over many years, many mediums have tried to send him up and he just does not want to go. So I don't know, as I say, if it's open for investigation anymore, but I would have loved to have gone back there now, knowing everything I do, 20 years later, and had it out with him. Would have loved to have done that. But just one of those things, I suppose. It's not 20 years. What am I talking about? It's about 15 years, I think. And it was just one of those times where I encountered evil. And I think I needed to, so that they could give me the tools to deal with anything in the future that was like that, but also to experience it. So that if anybody said to me, this happened, I go, yep, I totally get it. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, he wasn't great. The next one that, this is not in chronological order. I just thought I'd cover the dark energies first, just to let you know. But they're very rare, trust me. The only dark energy, really, that I've ever walked into is on Paranormal Investigations. The rest of them is more residual energy, but we'll go on to that a bit later. So he was there for power and the glory, or potentially there could have been a feeling of him being judged for not, doing right by God. I don't know. So this one, I can't disclose the mansion house we went to because they didn't want it to be disclosed, but it's in Hertfordshire. And we turned up. I used to be part of Epic, which was my little paranormal team. We used to go around to all different places, and we were invited to go to this place with another couple of paranormal investigators. We kind of joined together. So I entered the place, and straight away I saw an image of a little girl standing. There was like a ballroom area and many, many windows all the way along. It was a stunning, stunning house. Absolutely beautiful. Wonderful manor house. And as soon as I walked in, I saw this image, and she had long curly hair, brown hair. and this like apron pinafore dress on, and she was just standing, holding onto the wooden frame in these windows, which were about 10 foot high. They were huge. And I took a photo, and again, I got her image very blurry. And again, do you know what? When I lost my phone, all of my old photographs got wiped off. Apparently, they weren't backed up with Google, so I lost all of these images as I could have posted them. But yeah, she was there. So she then disappeared. I couldn't connect with her, I couldn't interact with her, and I was very aware there were lots of children running around. And I later found out that it was an orphanage at one time. As we walked into the kitchen about, I don't know, it's about an hour into the investigation, there was a huge almighty crash, and it sounded like someone pushing over a dresser full of glass. But when we looked, there was absolutely nothing. And then there was another bang where one of the big saucepan things got hit, but there was nothing hitting it. It was just swinging, and I'm like, hello. And then came the shivers and the hair going up the back of my neck and the dragging feeling on my spine. I thought, oh, Christ, this is going to be another, naughty one. And as it went past me, it was like a fresh draft, of freezer cold energy went whoosh straight past me. And I thought, don't believe it. It's the same energy as that blinking Abbey. And then I felt heat on the back of my neck and my side of my shoulder. And I thought, what the hell's that? And when someone looked, I had scratches on my neck and my back. And I thought, that's not very nice. And lots of people that night got scratches. And I got some on my hands and arms as well from this thing. And he was someone that I don't know if he was in charge. We never got to the bottom of it, to be honest with you. I think there's quite a lot of people there, and we couldn't really get to the bottom of it, of what he was doing there. But he was keeping the children from going up. Now, I've heard this phenomenon before, and sometimes I think, oh, you're adding drama to a place. But this really did feel like it, because you could sometimes hear the children's footsteps behind you, or a little giggle, And then other times it all went quiet, and then this cold energy turned up, this black energy turned up. We weren't quite sure if he was in charge of the orphans at the time, or it was a completely different era, because different people can haunt different layers of energy in a house. They can come from 1800 or 1300, and they all mix together, a bit like Ghosts. Do you know that comedy sitcom? I used to love that. So, they're all in a different era, because you can blend with them, and then you pick up information in one place, and then you go to another place, pick up on someone else, completely different era. So, they're all there. So this culminated in the end of us doing, which was a wonderful experience. Again, I'm not a great fan of, we save souls and we rescue them. I don't know about that. But I do know that we did something quite different there, because the owners had said they keep getting accidents and things going wrong in the house. It was virtually derelict, to be honest with you, but they were still the owners of it. It's under some sort of trust or something. And so we ended up doing this circle of light, and first of all we called in this thing, and we felt the breeze enter into the middle of the circle. And then there was this huge powerful light that just blew upwards. It kind of ascended up to the top of wherever it went, and everybody was remarking on it afterwards. We all had exactly the same experience, and suddenly this thing just disappeared up this vortex of energy, and there was this really strong sweet smell of flowers and this feeling of peace and love that made me cry. And then we saw all of these like orbs and white sparkly lights enter into the vortex and go up as well, and it turned out that we sent them all up. And when I was still a bit sceptical. I'm thinking, it was all mass hysteria? Did we all, pick up the same thing because it was suggested or whatever? So not that we suggested it at the time, but then, I thought, was it coincidence? But there's never coincidence. It's always synchronicity. But the proof is always in the pudding, because you then speak to the owners, and about a month later, 6 weeks later, there was reports that, the place felt lighter, and there weren't any accidents, weren't any water leaks anymore, there wasn't any electrical faults. And they said that they couldn't hear the children anymore, which I thought was wonderful. So I do believe on that particular occasion, it's very rare, remember, that the children were grounded, because this thing wouldn't let them go up. I don't know how a darker or heavier energy can stop other energies going up, but it can happen, because I witnessed it. And again, as we did say, yes, we've been there, and, we've done stuff. We don't want to tell you too much. We just want you to, gauge the energy of the space and give us feedback, and then we'll tell you what we did. And they did. They said it's just lighter. It's just really different. What did you do? And that's when we explained to them what happened. So that was a pretty incredible one. It was also the first time that I had a bit of contact with being scratched. Bit naughty, I grant you. But I was a bit disconcerted over that, the old scratching business. And I did speak with my granddad later on. I went up in meditation, so not being funny. I don't like that malarkey, being touched. And he said they can, if they are been there long enough, they can manifest and manipulate energy to create, this kind of phenomena where they can actually affect your physical being. I'm thinking, I don't like that very much. And they can do that. They can push you. I had it when I was in a pub in Essex. We were investigating a pub. I can't remember the name of what it was. I think it was near Braintree. And it had a tunnel that went through to the local church. And there was a priest hole as well. So there was obviously a lot of fear, and they were being hidden at a certain time during the Inquisitions. And there was this tunnel, and it had been blocked. And I don't think some of the monks that were actually in the pub were happy. And I went into the place where the tunnel had been blocked and bricked up, and I got thrown across the room. And that wasn't really evil. It was more frustration. Even though they could walk through the wall, I don't think they liked the change of it. And this is what happens a lot. I've had many spirit people not happy because they keep revisiting their home, and it's been extended, or it's been decorated, or it's been changed, and they don't like that. That is a very common thing. And so you tell them, well, news for you, you've got to move on. Don't keep coming down here. Stay up there now. And you send them up. But I'll tell you about that in a minute on how you do that, because I learnt the skills, yes, I did, of sending spirit people up. So that was, so the monks, again, they were in visitation, I was told. And I did speak to the owners, and they said now and then we get phenomena, but not all the time. So I just think they come down and they just get the ump because they want to go through the tunnel, and they don't like the fact it's changed, and they push me out the way. That was a bit, whew. But again, it was visitation. So you've got to listen to the stories. You've got to, and what I'd also love to do was, I started getting the hang of it very quickly on dealing with different energies, because when they're pleasant and light, you feel pleasant and light. And when they're heavy, you can feel it straight away. And the problem with that is that some people don't stop and spend time working with the energy to see why it's upset, why it's heavy, why it's dense. They just think straight away it's evil when it's not. So this was the frustration of the monks not being able to go through their tunnel like they used to be able to. Funny, isn't it? It's lots of monks about. What's that about? So many monks that haunt places. Obviously not very happy. But the visitation bit, I'll just clarify this. Visitation and grounded, it absolutely means what it says. Some spirit people, and I have no idea why, I've asked regularly and I don't really get a very solid answer, is they have a favourite place on earth that they like to revisit. Some, it's quite macabre because they want to go back to perhaps where they died, where they did something or where something happened, and they just seem to be connected or pulled to that energy. And others just loved their home or like to go back for old time's sake, just to see somewhere. And this is where you get the people, get the ump, seeing their house has changed, and they stay down a bit longer because they want it back to how it was. So there's all sorts of personalities and reasons for them being here. And it's just incredible when you think you're going to something negative and it isn't. But this one is a completely, again, common as you like. I got called to a house in Southend. And the woman phoned me up and goes, I've got massive problems. There's things exploding, light bulbs exploding. There's things being thrown about. The chairs keep being moved. All the drawers were open this morning when I went down to the kitchen. And there's stuff being thrown across the room when we're watching the telly. I thought, bloody lovely, here we go. I'm going to be able to exercise my spiritual muscles and kick some spiritual arse here. So I couldn't wait to get there. I'm not going to lie. So I did my readings for the day and I was round there like a shot. And I was so disappointed. And, this is no judgment at all, but I'm just going to say it as it is, as I always do. I turned up to this place, and I'm not being funny. It was council house. It was very, very badly maintained. It was a dump, basically. I'm not going to lie. And there was all crap and shit out the front. And I thought, oh, God, this just, I know what's going on here. So she opened the door, this girl, and she was, I know this from being a police officer, she was an obvious drug addict. And so I said, look, is it safe for me to come in? He goes, what do you mean? So I said, well, I don't want any needles about, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I'm like, I know what I'm talking about. And it was really bad before when I went in. Do you know what I mean? No, we don't do anything like that. We just do like poppers and pills and stuff like that and cannabis. And I'm like, whatever. So anyway, walk in and straight away, it was so easy. It was so easy. There was this bloke in my head that had manifested right next to me, and he was a drug addict, and he had accidentally or purposely overdosed about a week before, a few doors down. So I said to her, did you know the bloke that died of overdose? She went, oh my God, how do you know that? So I said, it was about a week ago. And she goes, yeah, that's right. How do you know? I said, because he's here. And he goes, what's he doing here? What's he doing here? I said, because he feels that he is going to be judged going up to his nan and everybody else because of the fact that he was a druggie. And this is no disrespect again to people with addictions. I'm just saying it as it is. And I said, and he is connected to your house because he's familiar with the environment. He feels at home, and he'd rather be here with you lot using and being in that environment rather than going back to the light and dealing with whatever he needs to deal with family members. And obviously he's going to have a life review of his soul. He knows that. We all know it. It's like nature. You just know that's what's going to happen when you come to the end of your life. And he goes, well, tell him to go. And I said, well, he don't want to go because he's loving it. I said, the only way you're going to stop this is stop the behaviour that's going on in the house. She goes, what are you talking about? And she was getting really arsey. And I said, well, he's going to stay here as long as you're going to carry on doing your stuff. Why is he throwing stuff? Why is he doing the stuff? Because I said, even though, he wasn't a bad person, bless him, he was just really heavily addicted to heroin. I said, and the problem is that all of the guilt and the anger of dying and the grief of him wasting his life is manifesting in the arena here. And I learnt that day that emotions in spirit people can create physical phenomena. So this is where people can go wrong, thinking somebody's evil. Because he was just a very, very upset, sad person that had lost his life to addiction. And that was manifesting in the room amongst these other people. And there were people visiting that were using drugs. And it wasn't a pleasant place to be in. And I said, unless you change your energy and stop what you're doing, and I can cleanse this place, then he won't feel welcome. And that might help him to go back up because he's not going anywhere. And he literally said to me, I ain't effing going anywhere. And I'm like, all right then, fair play. You didn't want to go anywhere. And I wasn't going to waste my time trying to cleanse the space when they were just going to bring it back in with their energy. And I just knew there was nothing I could do. And so she was really, really quite angry with me towards the end. Who do you think you are judging me? I said, I'm not judging you. I'm telling you the truth, love. This is the situation. And I said, unless you want to change what's going on here, it's going to stay here. It's that simple. There's nothing I can do in this energy. I said, it is full of dark, dense addiction. And I said, unless you cleanse that energy, then I've at least got a platform to work on to help him go up. I said, but I can't work in this. And so she goes, right, whatever. I said, oh, look, I'm just going to leave it. I said, I'll leave it up to you. So she literally phoned giving it a big mouth off. I used to ask for petrol money. So it's only a tenner, I ain't paying you nothing. Who do you think you are? And she was really aggressive and nasty. And I come out there thinking, right, that didn't go too well. But again, it taught me that like attracts like. If you are a negative person, if you are doing Satan worshipping, if you are doing drugs, if you are having really horrible, aggressive violence in your home, you will attract anything around the area into your home because it will feel welcome. Like attracts like. This is why when I go to a pleasant, uplifted, beautiful home where the people are lovely energy and they've got something negative in there, I know that it's from the land that it was built on, or it was from someone else practicing something to draw it in, or it's just coming from next door and doesn't know where it is. And they're really easy for me to get rid of because you're already in a highlighted, beautiful energy structure because of the people there that are just thinking, what the hell's going on? So you've got all this strength and love from the people living there and you can eradicate it. How do you do that? Very good question. Again, totally naturally came to me. I was not taught it. I didn't go to a class for it. It was all organically sent from my spirit family as a legacy handed down to me. And I remember standing. I'm trying to think of the very first one that I did. What was the first one I did? That's right, it was a flat in Southend and in Essex. And they were a nice couple, lovely couple. But they didn't realise how sensitive they were. They didn't realise that they had quite a strong spiritual connection. And they gave out a light that was very attractive to any spirit people nearby. And it was quite funny, actually, because when I walked into the flat, lovely flat, really nice, and it was part of an old Victorian house, that had been separated into flats. Really lovely, big, lovely windows, really lovely energy. And they'd called me because the night before they'd been sitting in bed watching the telly and something had thrown their CD rack. Yes, it was CDs then. We're going back a bit. Something threw their CD rack that was on the wall, off the wall, and then threw a picture off the wall as well. And they thought, we've had enough now. They knew someone was there. They kept talking to it and trying to be nice to it. And then when that happened, they phoned up and said, enough's enough. We can't have this. It's just throwing things and we're really upset. So the number one thing to do is when you go into a space, you gauge the energy of the homeowners straight away. So normally what I do is I ask them to make a cup of tea or do something automated. These are the nice people. Do something that they automatically do that they don't have to think about. So I can quickly scan the house, scan the space and scan them. And then I can gauge who's who, what the energy's like, if they've bought it in, if they haven't, if they're totally, susceptible to it, whatever it is. And I can gauge it while they're making the tea with small talk. That's how I work. So I walked in here and I could see they were a lovely couple. They'd worked really hard. This was their first little flat together. And it was like, we just don't know what the hell's going on. And they said, we don't feel it's anybody from our family because, as I say, they're a bit sensitive to energy. I said, it's not, darling. I said, this is not a family member. So I went and sat in the bedroom for a little while and this bloke came through. He was quite a good-looking lad, actually. And again, it was another overdose. It was a drug overdose from down the road. And I thought, hang on a minute, what are you doing here? And so he goes, well, I don't fucking know. What do you tell me? And I'm like, well, why don't you want to go up? Because I'm gonna get judged because I fucked up, la 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 la. And I'm like, oh, chill out, mate, chill out. And I could feel this vibration on the bed, and he's just trying to move the bed that I'm sitting on. And I'm like, look, just calm yourself down, calm yourself down. And I said, what are you doing, throwing things about in here? And he goes, because I don't know what the fuck to do. I don't know what the fuck to do. And because they were shining this little light of energy, because all mediums, light workers, healers, they shine a beacon of light that spirit people see. So if you're working in the light, that's great. You'll get all light. I've had loads of light strangers come into my house and I say, sorry, not now, not today, or what do you want, or whatever. I don't have it a lot now, but I used to when I was working prolifically. doing readings and connecting with spirit people. They'd turn up before I was going to a show in a theatre and say, you're going to talk to my daughter, make sure you talk to her first, and I'm going to stay with you. I've had all of that. Oh, yeah. So in the bath as well as the number one. Yeah, getting ready in the bath. So I was like, look, just calm yourself down. I said, you can't keep doing this. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I said, what are you doing here? And they'd had a cheeky little Ouija board sessions. There's nothing wrong with Ouija boards. There's nothing wrong with communication boards if there is a proper medium there and it's respectfully done. But they'd had a bit of a drink. And so he'd like kind of popped in and thought, what are they doing? And then stayed in the light because he didn't know what else to do, bless him. So I said, hang on a minute, stay there, because he started rattling things in the room. I'm like, oh, he's going to get in the right ump. So I went into and I said, you had a little Ouija board session, didn't you? They went, oh my God, yeah. And I said, oh, you donuts. I said, you kind of like invited him in, really. I said, because you're all a bit drunk and you didn't realise how powerful you were. You've got quite a big beacon of light. You actually went, she goes, oh yeah, my nan was a medium. I'm like, oh my God. So I said, right, okay. So I said, if you were more developed, you would have noticed energy come in and you could have sent it out. So it's just a random thing. It's not your fault. You're not negative in any way. It's just a really unusual case that he's jumped in through the vortex energy while you were doing the Ouija board, perhaps reflective of the rest of the people that were around there. Plus you were taking the mickey, plus you were drunk and nobody was in control of what was going on. She went, oh God, I'm really sorry. I said, don't apologise. I said, at the end of the day, this is a problem you created for yourself. So I need to try and, sort it out. So I went back into the room and the blinds were going, and I'm like, right, calm yourself down. So I said, listen, we're going to do something. And I thought, I've got no clue really what I'm going to do here. And then suddenly, in my mind, my Julianus, my soul guide, said, show him this door. Now, everybody who meditates or starts connecting to the spirit world or does any sort of connection, any light work, they will normally have a meeting room in their meditative space. And every single student I've ever had has had this. This is how I know about it. And what happens is that this meeting space is your training ground for your connection to the spirit world and other realms and ethereal layers and celestial layers. So mine is set out that I walk through this pond area and I go under the water, down the steps. I come to a podium and there's a big golden orange glow sphere that I place into my solar plexus. I didn't even know it was my solar plexus. This is all like, I've been doing this since I was like a teenager and I didn't even know why I was doing it. And then there were 3 or 4 steps up and then there was this door and it had a white rim around it and it used to go, and it was like white cloud coming through the frame. And I remember that as a 3-4-year-old child sitting at the top of my stairs, and it was a doorway to heaven. And I knew that I should never go through there because that's where the spirit people were and all of the other celestial beings. I knew I shouldn't go there. And then I'd go down 3 steps and there was this big white settee and I'd sit on the white settee. When I was first doing mediumship full time, they helped me to create this, imagery in my head to bring the spirit person through. And so my nan used to sit there, my granddad they used to give me messages, and my dad and all the others, my family members. And then I used to use it quite organically, quite naturally to do a reading. And I would wait for someone to come and sit on the sofa. They'd come from the doorway up the top, come and sit on the sofa, and I'd go, oh, and they would describe them, and then they'd start talking to me, and I'd relay the information to the sitter. And that's how I always used to work to begin with. Behind me then manifested a set of patio doors. So these are all mind map places, but really they're just different frequencies and layers. But to make it more acceptable for a human mind, they make it through imagery. They create through imagery. And incredibly, I went through these patio doors when they first appeared, walked out into a garden, and that's where I met my guides. That's where I ended up going to see the Akashic Records. That's where I ended up going through to the angel realms and seeing all of the different ethereal layers. And that's the patio door. There's also another door that was brought to me, and that was the source of the universe, the cosmos. And I saw that. Another door took me to another dimension, which was showing me purgatory. And so all of these layers have been extended as I've developed my ability. And so each door, if I mentally go through them, I know it's going to take me to that ethereal layer. They then upgraded me, most probably during my awakening, to be honest with you. I'd been there a few times to Crystal Palace, but it was huge. when I was reawakened during my 5 years in bed. And I literally just get taken up along a path and I go straight into the Crystal Palace, and I've got a huge man-made map, which I will definitely draw out in my next book. What happens when we die, when that gets done. After Earthwalkers, I've got so much to do. And the mind map is there of all the ethereal layers, heaven, the archangel chambers, the fountain of youth, the seraphim, the celestial gardens, the omnipresence cavern, all of those are all there. So I knew that door was connected directly to do not pass go. This is where we come from. Don't go in there unless you're dead, sort of thing. So I stood there while he was rattling the bloody blinds, this poor bloke. And suddenly Julianus, I could feel him next to me, and he held my arm and he pointed to the door, and I found myself in my meeting place, and the door opened. The door to the spirit world opened, to the spirit, to heaven, to the reality layer. And this beautiful lady was standing there, and I'm going to call her Sandra, okay? That's not the right real name, to protect the identity of the spirit and the people. I only give the names when the people have given me permission. And I said, oh, hi, Sandra. She goes, that's my baby boy there. She goes, tell him it's absolutely fine. We can heal him. It wasn't his fault. Let us take him in. He's going to be fine. So then I created the image of who I'd seen what this boy looked like. And I was saying to him in my mind, darling, look, there's your nan there. There's Sandra. She's welcoming you with open arms. Don't be scared. Don't worry. Just go. Just go. So he took ages. I didn't realise, about 45 minutes when I came back out of it. And I was pushing his energy. It's really hard to describe because you're doing it mentally, spiritually, not physically, but I was pushing his energy and gently guiding him towards his nan. And in the end, the final result was that he started cuddling her and the door shut behind them, and Juliana said, your work is done. And then I came back round and the air felt light and it felt great. And the blinders stopped rattling, the bed has stopped moving. I walked back out and said, it's done. And they went, really? How'd you do it? I said, Christ knows. I said, but it's done. You should be all right. So I always did my, courtesy call a month later and said, how is it? Said, oh my God, it's so different. There's nothing here at all. It's brilliant. And then about 3 months later, I got a call. It's happening again. I thought you were joking. So I went back round and they'd done another Ouija board with their mates, asked them to do it. Can you believe it? And for some reason, it just pulled him back in again because he wanted to go back and experience his old life. And it was a nightmare. And so it took about 2 more times to actually convince him that this wasn't, the cherished memories that he needed. He didn't need to crave that human energy anymore. So I don't know if he'd gone through the door and thought thanks, but no thanks, and lingered around. I don't know what happened. But he ended up back down there again because they'd done this bloody Ouija board. And I said to them, listen, if you do another one without anybody experienced here, without knowing what you're doing, I said, I'm not going to come back because it's just wasting my time. So I said, it's your choice. And they were, oh, we're so sorry. We thought it'd be all right now that he's gone and blah, 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 blah. I said, I did explain this to you. So do you know what? 99% of the time it's humans' fault. What's in an house, I've got to tell you. And it was unfair on him because I think he just felt connected to the place and he saw that open light and obviously jumped back in again. But the third and final time, I think we sealed it and done it. And I said to Julianus, look, are we definitely not going to have him come back? Is he not going to crave any of his human? And he goes, no, he's gone now and he's actually gone to the healing. So I think he most probably he skipped his life review and came back down even though he'd gone to his nan. Don't ask me how that happens, but it did because it was in my face and I had to deal with it. And then they've never had a problem since, ever. So the story is in the spirit is in the story, always, always. If you have anything like this, get a really reputable, highly recommended medium that knows their onions to come in. Most of them, to be honest with you, won't charge you an astronomical amount. There was someone that was going to charge like £1,000. Well, you'll be free from them forever after that. And oh my God, just don't even go there. Reputable mediums, recommended by word of mouth, not by super duper marketing and how many followers they've got. Don't do that. Just go with who's recommended, or go to your local spiritualist church if you've got a problem. I have done a what to do with negative energies in your house. I have done a video on it. But you know what? I'm going to call this part 1 because I've got so much more. I've got all of the lovely, beautiful experiences to talk about. Plus, I really do want to advise you on how to deal with preventing negative energies coming into the home and what to do if you feel you have got them. So this is going to be my first to be continued. I hope you've enjoyed this session. I really do appreciate your reviews. If you love this, please review it. And also, if you want more interaction, more stories, angel channeling, and all sorts of wonderful things, all including tarot card readings, pop over to my YouTube channel because that's where it's all at, my darlings. The tribe is growing and they're magnificent. Until the next time, part 2 will be soon. Take care, everyone. And please know that these are very rare occurrences. And I'm talking over a span of 30 years, so don't panic. I'll speak to you again soon.